How's it going, everybody? Davros here with another shoe review. Today we'll be talking about the Topo Specter. So this is very different from any other Topo I've ever worn or they've ever created. Some huge differences I've noticed initially were the rocker. It has a huge rock where most Topos I've ever run in or they've created have just always seemed a little flat regardless of drop. Speaking of which, we'll get into the nitty-gritty and talk about some of the technical nuances. So this one has a 35mm heel with a 30mm forefoot, 5mm drop. So that puts it in the max cushion super shoe category. Speaking of super shoe, it has a P-Bax core encapsulated with a lightweight EVA foam. The foam, we'll start off with the midsole. The foam itself has a very nice light feel to it, but also very responsive. They're using a P-Bax beaded foam on the inside, which is that super foam that a lot of the shoe manufacturers are using now. And you can really feel that almost like a hammock where the lightweight EVA foam is on the outside, and when you land on it, you feel that P-Bax that propels you forward. That rocker bottom on here really lends itself to want to be up on the toes and propel you forward. I'd put this in the kind of performance / daily trainer category. You could definitely use this if you wanted to run fast and race in, and you could definitely use this on a long run at a slower pace. You definitely feel that rocker more though in this shoe when you are going a little bit quicker. I found that I personally like to run in this shoe at a little bit of a faster pace. It lends itself, at least with my running style, to kind of push the pace slightly. Even for the longer distances, I definitely preferred it on my foot in that sense. The foam, Topo as always, wide toe box, which is great. It allows the toes to splay. But one thing I noticed that was very different from any other Topo is how wide it was at the heel. So it creates a very stable neutral platform. I definitely felt stability in this shoe, much more so than I have in some of their other shoes. So it's much more forgiving and it fits a variety of different feet. With regards to the wide toe box, even if you have a narrow foot, what I love about Topo in all their shoes, especially in this one, is that it really hugs through the waist and allows the toes to splay, and it grips the heel in such an incredible manner. So moving on to the upper, it has an engineered mesh with underlays. So underneath the mesh, it has underlays that really just kind of hold the foot in place and through the heel counter without being overly built and overly engineered. It still has a great fit and feel. It's actually a personal preference of mine with Topos. When I compare them to another brand that makes similar type shoes with your Ultras, I find that the upper on these just almost always feel better, in my opinion. That being said, the upper with that engineered mesh is very lightweight and breathable, yet those underlays hold the foot in place and does give it some structure and stability. You don't feel like your foot's sloshing all the way around. The tongue is not gusseted, so it's not sewn into the platform, but you have these two tabs right here that really kind of just hold the tongue in place. It's nice and thin, but at the same time won't cut into the foot. I tried this on with a variety of different socks, thick socks, thin socks, and I had no issues. Through the heel counter, you'll find that it does hold the foot well. Again, without being too bulky. My heel fit in there great. I didn't have to do any adjustments to the laces. It comes laced into the rear eyelet, which is where I kept it. I didn't have to use a runner's knot or anything like that, although in many cases I do with a lot of shoes. I recommend it if you'd like to try it that way, no problem. There are some people out there that said it bites a little aggressively from back here. I didn't find that to be the case with my foot. Moving on to the outsole. The outsole has strategically placed rubbers where you need it most. It's very thin, which is quite different from most Topo shoes. Most Topo shoes have almost like a trail-like, thick, heavy-duty rubber, which obviously weighs the shoe down. This does not. This is nice and thin. It grips really well in wet and dry conditions. I tried this on smooth surfaces, on light trail, of course on road, and no issues whatsoever. It actually does a really good job while keeping the weight down. Speaking of weight, we're looking at about 8 ounces in a men's size 9. So it's definitely competitive weight-wise. No issues there whatsoever. I found the shoe after 50 plus miles of running it, being a bigger guy, I'm about 240 pounds, I had no issues whatsoever with regards to obvious wear and tear. It's still running great. I ran in it about 5 miles yesterday and had no issues. So it's definitely built well for long hauling miles, for short runs, tempo runs. It kind of does it all. It's not plated, which a lot of your race shoes are nowadays. That being said, however, it's very stiff and it definitely propels you forward with that rocker. So you could definitely race in this if you wanted to. It's kind of a do-it-all shoe, and at a very reasonable price, at $160. You know, you're getting a shoe that you could race in, which most of your high-end race shoes are closer to 200 plus nowadays. So I found this to kind of tick all the boxes. I did really like it on a personal note. There wasn't a lot of I didn't like in this shoe. It is very different from what I've worked with in regards to Topo. I've been running in Topo for many years now and done a whole bunch of their road and trail shoes. So this felt different. My initial run in it was about, I think, a 10K. And I was not expecting what I got out of it. The stability, the rock in the heel was extremely pronounced from what I've been used to. Most of their shoes just feel flat when you run in them, which is great on a trail shoe, no issues there. But I've ran in a few of their road shoes too, and never have I felt such a pronounced rocker in it. Overall, for what you get, I think this shoe is great. You really kind of could go on your daily trainers for a long run, again, short run at speed, race in it. Another thing to mention, it does have an ortholite liner on the insole. Some people like ortholite and some people don't, just kind of depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a shoe to kind of grip the arch and mold to your foot and kind of feel that arch support without being too intrusive, you'll definitely get this. This kind of just molds to your foot. And I do like ortholite. The only thing I'll mention about ortholite is that it does hold moisture. And when I did get these wet, I did run in these in wet conditions multiple times, I did feel it to be quite a bit sloshy underneath the foot. That being said, I had no issues with blisters. It did dry on the upper a couple of miles into the run after going through quite a bit of water and getting them soaking wet. There's plenty of foam, again, 35-30, so you know, if you're running within like an inch of water, you probably won't feel that. I do highly recommend this shoe for someone that's looking for a shoe that kind of does it all while, again, not breaking the bank. And I'll continue to run in this shoe, and I'm excited to see what Topo does in the future. That being said, it's not plated, so you know, you're not paying for that plated price point. And another cool thing about the Pebax foam, which is again encapsulated in the midsole, is that they're using the original Pebax beaded foam. It's not an imitation knockoff, it's from Pebax themselves. You know, you have a lessening of vibration when you land, and then a nice responsive pop while having that light EVA cushion, which gives you quite a bit of a soft feel. Unlike their zip foam in the past, which is definitely a firmer, more responsive feel, this one you feel that softness on landing and then that pop on takeoff without a whole lot of flexion in the shoe. So it will, again, provide stability to a whole range of different types of feet. If you have a narrow foot, no need to worry with the wide toe box because it grips really well, again, reiterating what I said earlier, through the waist and through the heel. The Topo Specter, great shoe. Thanks. Like and subscribe. If you have any questions, please shoot a comment down below and I'd be happy to answer it for you. Have a good day.